Hello, we're going to demo how to fold an origami piece crane. And here are just some examples of what hopefully our finished product will look like. I advise, especially if you're not familiar with folding origami piece cranes, if this is your first time, I recommend getting square origami paper, especially one that's double-sided. It will help you keep track of your folds. If you don't have any square paper, you can certainly use a regular piece of printer paper, like so, and then to fold it into a square, you simply take the top right corner and then bring it to the left side of the paper, essentially creating a large triangle. And you want to make sure you keep the edge flush so you get a nice point at the top. And then you fold it down. And then you can cut off this horizontal piece at the bottom. So that's how you can make yourself a square piece of paper. Something else you might find helpful is to use a letter opener or a straight edge to help with the folding. So I have one here to demo that as well. So to begin our origami piece crane, we're going to fold the paper into a triangle. So I'm going to take this top point, I'm going to fold it over to connect to the bottom point, and I'm going to make sure my edges align. That's very important throughout the process as you fold your origami piece crane. You want the edges to align. And something to be cognizant of, especially if this is your first time folding a piece crane, you want to be aware of the paper you're using. A paper with a slippery texture is going to be a little bit harder to fold. Certainly wrappers can be a little bit sticky if you want to fold with candy wrappers, which I've done before. That can be fun. As I said, this origami paper has a little bit of a sheen to it, so you can certainly try different papers to find one you're most comfortable with. So now that we've done this first fold, I typically like to open it up and then do the same fold but in reverse. So I'm just going to crease the paper the opposite direction. And the reason I like to do that is it makes sure when I do the more complicated folds, the paper is really flexible. And then you also notice too, I tend to use my fingernails. I have short fingernails, but I'll tend to use those as well and really drag them across the fold just to make sure it's a nice clean fold. You want to be gentle though. You don't want to tear your paper, but at the same time you want to make sure the fold is really loose. See how easy it is for me to go back and forth. That will help with later folds. So now that I have my first fold horizontally, I'm going to rotate the paper 90 degrees so I have the fold going vertically. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to take the top point, fold it over to the bottom point, make sure my edges align, and this can get a little tricky, and then I'm going to fold across to create that horizontal fold, right, like that. And then just as I did before, I'm going to fold the paper in the same direction, the same horizontal fold, but in the opposite direction, as you can see right here. So now I've got it as a green triangle. And then I'm just going to drag my nails across as well. So I should now have a paper. If I rotate it 90 degrees, I see an X in my box. That's the first step. Now I'm going to take this top edge and fold it down to create a rectangle. So these are preliminary folds. Depending on your comfort level with folding origami piece cranes, you may not need to do so many preliminary folds. You can certainly skip ahead a little bit in the process if you're comfortable with it. So I now have a horizontal fold. If I open up the square, we can see that horizontal fold right here. I'm going to go ahead and fold it across that same crease, but in the opposite direction, just like so. Opening the paper, I'm going to rotate. So that fold is right here. It's a little hard to see, but that horizontal fold is now vertical. I'm going to take the top of the paper, fold it down to the bottom edge, creating a second rectangle. Making sure my edges align. That's really important, so I'm going to take my time to do that. So I now have another horizontal edge. I'm going to go ahead and open that up and fold it the opposite direction. So I now have a square with an X and a plus sign across the middle. At this point, you want to decide what color of the paper you want to use, especially if you're using double-sided origami paper. I think I'm going to use this brown edge. I typically like the brown edge. So what that means is my next few folds, I'm going to make sure the green is inside the folds. So this is one of the trickier folds, and this is called the mountain fold. So I'm going to flip the paper to the side that I want the color of the piece crane to be. So I want the piece crane to be brown. This paper, because I've creased it, naturally will now bend. So notice that I'm bending the paper to create a triangle, like that. So I have the square paper. I'm going to take one of the square, so I have 4 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to slightly bend the paper, and then I'm going to take this other edge to bring it together. So it looks like this. So we'll kind of rotate that. And then I'm going to do the other side to match. So you can see how I'm tucking it inside, and I've created a square. And see the folds? This is how it looks from the other side. These 2 ends of the paper are tucked inside. So like this. If you want to look at this view with the inside, and then I just kind of tuck them in like almost like an accordion. And that's the mountain fold. So it's very important. This open side with the green color is facing toward me. The other point is away from me. So I want to kind of keep this triangle shape. So at this point, I'm going to take the right corner, not both corners. See how there's this flap? I'm going to take the top layer, and I'm going to fold it to the middle horizontal edge, creating a triangle and pressing down that edge. So I have 2 flaps, open side to me, and I'm going to take this edge, fold it to the middle, and create a triangle. I'm going to come and do the same thing on the opposite side to meet it, almost in a kite shape. So that's the shape. I will turn it over and do it again. Remember, I'm still keeping this open side with the color facing me. I'm going to fold the corner, bring it to the center, just like so. And once again, you want to make sure you're aligning to your edges. That will ensure your piece crane is nice and crisp like this one. And then I'm going to do the same and rotate it. Now I recognize that I'm right-handed, so those of you who are left-handed, it may be a little, you might have to reverse some of my directions a little bit for your other hand, but if you try to keep the paper pointing towards you as I've shown you, that will help you keep it straight. And as I said, the straight edge, I don't typically use the straight edge, but if you want the straight edge, you would press it against the paper and kind of fold around it like so. It's a great way to help keep your edges crisp too, if you wish to do that. And we'll use it for this part. So now that I've got this kind of kite shape, and you can notice I've got a flap here, I've got these flaps, and I've got this flap. I'm keeping the narrow point closer, once again, pointing toward me. I'm going to take my straight edge, and I'm going to want to fold this top flap. This is another preliminary fold. So I'm going to use the straight edge for this because I think it's helpful for this fold. I'm going to put the straight edge right at the top of these 2 flaps, right at the top, and then I'm going to fold this over. So let me zoom in on that for you to get a little bit of a closer look. Okay. So right here, I have these 2 flaps. I'm going to put the straight edge right at the top of the flaps, right up to the edge, and then I'm going to fold this over, and then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Once again, doing it, folding both directions just ensures the paper is really flexible for your folding. So now I have a horizontal crease at the top of the paper, and I'm just going to fold it once more to really make sure it's nice and straight. Okay. So now this is another tricky fold, so we'll want to watch closely. I'm going to lift these two flaps. Remember, the narrow point is still facing toward me. I'm going to gently lift out this top layer of paper. And this fold at the top is where I'm going to bend it. So it's going to open up to create a diamond shape. So we're, once again, those initial folds, we're kind of doing it the opposite direction. So I'll show you that on the opposite side. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to open the two flaps. I'm going to gently lift out this top layer. You can see that inside color green. And I'm going to bend it at this horizontal fold. So bending it. And then you see I'm just kind of flipping the paper to the other direction. Almost creating a pocket, if you will. So I've got two diamond pockets. These, you can start to see the crane coming into shape. This is the wing, and that's the body. This bottom part, that's loose. So these two right here, those are going to be the head and the neck and tail. So before we get to that point, we're going to do another fold. So at this point, in terms of direction, you want to make sure this inside triangle is away from you. The two legs are pointing toward you. And I'm going to come over and I'm going to fold this right corner into the middle, creating another triangle. And this is the part where, once again, the straight edge might be helpful. You want to go right to the edge of the paper, to that middle seam, if you will, and you want to press it down, creating this triangle. So that's how it looks. And I'll do it on the other side. At this point, I typically find it normal to flip the paper around to make it easier to fold the edge. That's just a perspective issue, but you can see I've got this, now it's the right corner, and once again, I'm folding to the middle. If it's confusing you to rotate the paper, I'll rotate it back the original direction we wore. And now it's the left corner that I'm bringing to the middle margin. And the idea is I'm creating another triangle. So the paper should look like that. I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. And part of this, as you get comfortable, you'll find your own orientations for the paper that make sense for you to fold. So I'm going to bring the right point to the middle, the left point to the middle. And as I'm doing it, I'm keeping the paper, the left edge of the paper straight as I fold. So that's what's creating the triangular shape. So there's that. And then I have to rotate because I'm right-handed. Helps with the orientation. And then I'm going to flip it right like that. Okay, so my paper, if I orient it back to our original direction, should look like this on both sides. Now the fun part, and this is where we get to think about the type of personality we want our crane to have. I can fold the tail and neck so it's straight, like this crane, or I can fold them at an angle so it has a little bit of personality. So you notice straight versus a little angled. It's your choice which way you want to go. I typically do the angle, but you can do straight if you prefer. So to do that fold, I'm going to take the diamond shape that I've created. I'm going to turn it to the side, and I've got this nice kind of pocket right here. And I've got this horizontal crease right here. That's the part I'm going to bend up. So the paper kind of has a shape. And then I'm going to tuck it in, just like that. And this is if I wanted to have a straight head or neck. So let me show that again, because I think I was out of camera view. So I open the side. I've got that horizontal crease. I'm going to fold it up and then fold it closed. That's if I want to create a straight tail, straight neck and head. If you want to angle it, you can bring it out a little bit and fold it at the angle. And you notice I chose to fold it so it's the margin is using this edge of the paper. And I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing on the other side. So I've got this pocket. Zoom out a little bit. Got the pocket. I've got that horizontal fold right here. I'm going to fold against that. And this one, my paper's overlapping a little bit. That's okay. I'm just going to fold it over. But once again, remember, I like a little bit of a crease. So I'm going to bring it out. I'm just literally pulling the paper a little bit. There. And now to do the head, I always look at this point. I always like a crisp tail, and the head fold can save any mistakes. So you notice my edges didn't quite align, but the tail's pretty sharp. What I'm going to do is use this side for the head. It doesn't matter which side you use. So I'm going to turn the origami paper. I'm just going to kind of put my thumb into the middle of that crease I created, and I'm just going to press it down. So maybe you can see like a fingernail's width down from the point. And then I'm just going to close, so it has this interior crease. And I'm just going to kind of fold it on that crease. There. So you can see there's that crease right there in the head that I felt folded along. And that's how you do the head. So at this point, you can leave your crane like this, or if you want, which I like to do, I like to fold the wings down. And now I have a crane. So I would suggest practicing this if this is your first time folding a piece crane. Watch this video a few times till you get the hang of it, and hopefully you'll have created your piece crane too.